Chapter number 5. The Uprising of 1857. By the year 1856, a major part of India came under the domination of British East India Company. Different sections of the society resented against the British and their supporters, zamindars and moneylenders, and revolted against them in the year 1857. In history, this famous uprising of 1857 is also termed as the First War of Independence. Causes of the revolt. Political causes. Many chiefs and landlords were unhappy with the exploitative land revenue policies of the British. They believed that the British had deprived them of their privileges and powers. Therefore, some landlords of Travancore, Tirunelveli and Aligarh organized local revolts against British cruelty even before 1857. Since they were isolated incidents, the British quickly suppressed these uprisings. Based on subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse, the British annexed the territories of many Indian rulers. They also discontinued the pension and titles of many. As a consequence of the above policies, they dislodged several native rulers like Nana Sahib and Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi. On the grounds of misgovernance, they deposed Nawab Wajid Ali Shah of Awadh. Awadh had been converted into a buffer state by the British in the 18th century. Later, it also accepted all the terms of the subsidiary alliance. By 1856, the ruler of Awadh was a puppet in the hands of the British. The Nawab was deposed and exiled to Calcutta, that is, Kolkata. People of Awadh were unhappy because the British exploited the people and resources of Awadh. The company used Awadh's sepoys in conquering other parts of India. Awadh's enormous wealth was drained out by the company merchants. The peasantry suffered as they had to pay very high land revenues. Soldiers of the disbanded army lost their jobs. Craftsmen and entertainers who were earlier patronized by the Nawab lost their source of livelihood, and the aristocracy was robbed of their traditional privileges. All these people suffered heavily at the hands of the British. Dalhousie announced in 1849 that after Bahadur Shah Zafar, his successors would not be allowed to use royal titles and privileges. They would have to shift out of the Red Fort. Moreover, to put an end to the Mughal dynasty, the British even removed the Mughal emperor's name from the coins minted by the company. Social and religious causes. The reforms introduced by the British alarmed the orthodox Indians. Governor-General Lord William Bentinck declared sati as an illegal practice in 1829. To improve the condition of women, they also introduced a law regarding widow remarriage. Women were even encouraged to take up Western learning. The British practiced the policy of racial discrimination against the Indians. Indian people were given subordinate positions in all the services. Besides, Indian could not travel in first-class coaches in a train. All these unjust practices caused discontent among the people. The British government supported Christian missionaries in India and even allowed them to own property. The Christian missionaries were actively involved in converting the people, and this was made easier after the passing of a legislation in 1850. As per this legislation, a convert could inherit ancestral property. At the same time, the British taxed the land belonging to temples and mosques. This hurt the religious sentiments of the people. The British promoted Western education and replaced English as the official language, while Persian was sidelined. As a result, many Muslims and Hindus lost their jobs. Economic causes. Economic policies of the British were not in favor of the Indians. As discussed earlier, there was widespread distress among the masses. The land revenue policies introduced by the British made the life of poor peasants tough. Peasants, trapped in the clutches of money-lenders, often lost their lands. A new class took the place of old zamindars. These outsiders were not concerned about the peasantry. Machine-made goods from Britain were cheaper, due to which the Indian artisans and craftsmen suffered. British goods were not taxed in India, while Indian goods were heavily taxed in British markets. Therefore, the traditional Indian industry of handicrafts was ruined. Wonderful to know. Earning of the British in rupees per month. Captain in the artillery, 448.50. Lieutenant in the infantry, 266.50. Ship's pilot in the navy, 700. Earning of the Indians in rupees per month. Subedar, 82. Havaldar, 19. Sepoy, 8.50. Jamadar, 28. Nayak, 17. Military causes. The Indian sepoys was not satisfied with the policies of the British. The sepoys were unhappy because their salaries were low in comparison to those of British soldiers, and they did not get equal opportunities of promotion. Even the service allowance or bhatta given when they were sent outside the country to fight was discontinued. They resented regulations prohibiting the use of caste marks. In 1856, the company passed General Service Enlistment Act, according to which every new recruit had to serve overseas. The sepoys were discontented as crossing the sea was a violation of their religious sentiments. Moreover, soldiers were unhappy with what was happening in the countryside. Their families lost their traditional lands to the exploitative taxation policies. Immediate causes. The whole country was simmering against the unjust exploitative British policies, and only a small spark was required to ignite the situation. The British provided them the spark in the form of Enfield rifles. This new rifle was introduced in the army in 1856. Its cartridge had a greased paper around it. To load the rifle, a sepoy had to bite the paper. The grease in the paper was rumored to be coated with the fat of cows and pigs. This was against the belief of both Hindus and Muslims. This news spread like a forest fire. Letters were exchanged among the sepoys. The sepoys discarded the use of Enfield rifles. Mangal Pandey, a soldier, attacked his superiors in Barakpur on 29th March 1857. He was arrested and executed, but this episode conveyed the message that sepoys were prepared to defy the orders of the British. Outbreak of the revolt at Meerut. Mangal Pandey's execution